950 WROL. Got a car question? Call us at 617-770-3030. That's 617-770-3030. Now, here's the Car Doctor, John Paul, on AM 950 WROL, the spirit of Boston.
Well, good Saturday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program. Well, we've been having some serious technical difficulties here, but we are at the New England International Auto Show yet at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center, and we're here at the Mass Auto Dealers Student Skills Competition, which is going to start at 10 o'clock as soon as the show opens. And it is the Super Bowl for these high school kids. There is some great people here helping to support Megatech, which is a company that builds all of these great products. So you can actually test individual components in a classroom situation. Also, Ford Motor Company, Subaru, BMW, Hyundai, the U.S. Air Force's sponsors, the Lincoln Tech, UTI, Pep Boys, the Greater New York Auto Dealers Association, of course, the Mass Auto Dealers. This wouldn't happen without them. They're all some of the manufacturers. And what's kind of nice is the local people that are here, too. The folks from Copeland Toyota and Chevrolet and Volkswagen are here. They have two of their Toyota pickup trucks that are here. They look stunning. And those are vehicles that the high school kids are going to look at. Audi is here with one of their vehicles, so it's always good to see all of them. The folks from Sullivan Tire are here. They do a complete testing program with Sullivan Tire, and they're all here because they care about high school technical education. And as somebody who belongs to advisory boards on a variety of different schools, Socio Votech and Blue Hills, and just it goes on and on. It's important to me to see that these high school kids get the chance and get a little extra recognition at the same time. Again, I want to apologize for the show starting a little bit late, and we are doing it over the phone because we are having some technical issues with our equipment here. We can seem to connect to every place but the radio station. It seems like where I have test lines set up that I can test in other areas, and I can connect to all of them. I just can't seem to connect to the radio station for some reason. And we tested it. I've been here since 7:15 this morning. By the time I got all set up around 7:45, Dennis and I worked it all out. Everything seemed to work fine. But all of a sudden, we got kicked off and can't get reconnected for some reason. So I'm not quite sure why, but it is what it is. So we're trying to do the best we can. And, of course, we're here. Partially one of the reasons why we're here is the good people at Expressway Toyota. The Bach brothers, David and Richard, are kind enough to be advertising on the program today. So they're here to help out, and they're by being a sponsor of the Car Doctor program. So good to see them here as well as a sponsor. So that's great, and been good to see. So again, we're still working on trying to come up with a solution to this, and so we can take your calls. Also, buddy George Kennedy, who I've known for a long time. He's a member of the New England Motor Press Association. He actually came in to be kind of a in-show guest today, and I feel bad for him that we're not able to talk to him either. So things are not progressing quite as well as we hoped, and we don't know why. So they're going to continue to work on it. Our engineer Leo was on it. The operations manager Matt is on the case. So I'm not sure quite what to do. I feel bad that I woke George Kennedy up early in the morning to get here. We shouldn't have to pay to get in, right, George? Yeah. All right, there we go. So we're just kind of trying to do the best we can, and we're just I think we're stuck. I think we're stuck. We're not going to get anywhere. So yeah, go look at cars. Go check out that new Corvette. Oh, there you go. Yeah, the Subaru has a great display over there. Yeah. Subaru has a really good display. Mazda has a new car over there, which is nice to see. The Ford Mach-E is here. The Mach-E is here, and it is a well, they call it a Mustang. I don't know if a Mustang can have four doors. Yeah, man. And actually, I can visualize. There was a guy somewhere in the South Shore area that made four-door Corvettes and Mustangs. So, there's something nobody needed ever, and but there was somebody who did it. So it was the new Corvette. Yeah, the new C8, the new mid-engine Corvette is here. I like it a lot. I got to tell you, it looks good. They did a nice job with it. So, and for $59,995 if you can actually buy one for that amount. But in fact, I took a picture of it. A guy who kind of runs a car buying service down in Middleborough. He's actually in kind of a 55 and older community, but he still does it. Apparently, he has one on order. He has a white one on order. So. Must be money in the car buying service business. So, and our buddy Julian D'Amato, I talked to him yesterday, and he said to me he had the opportunity to buy someone else's number 79, and he didn't like the color combination, so he opted not to, and which is great for him. He also said to me, you know what, the new one's cool. Next year when it comes out with the 1,000 horsepower one, I think I'm in. I'm all in for that. Yeah, well, he was okay with that. He was okay. Yeah, he was okay. He was okay with electric over gas. So yeah, but yeah, I think the horsepower, the numbers, really is what turned him on to that. So there's that, and of course at the auto show, I think the show's a little bit smaller than it's been in the past couple of years. There is what's missing. Audi's missing. BMW's missing. Mercedes is missing. Volvo is missing, I think. I don't remember seeing Volvo here. And Jaguar Land Rover? Yeah, and there is a Defender. In fact, I took a picture of that, and a friend of mine who has two of them, because why would you only want one, said, buy. So maybe he's interested in buying that. Yeah, it is. And I actually asked the guy. I don't know if does he make those leather bags or something? And I asked him, and he said it was actually he found it in Ireland, and he imported it because it's right-hand drive. And but he found it in Ireland, he imported it. It was all stock, so it came right through customs with no problem. That's the biggest issue with when you import some of these. If the engines have been swapped out, the numbers don't match. Apparently, they flag them when they come into customs, and you end up stuck. Right. The DEA shows up and questions you. That's what. The guy that I know who imported now two of them from Italy, and he did it kind of in a weird way. He doesn't speak Italian. The guy he bought them from doesn't speak English. He said to me, "What do you think about sending somebody $10,000 you've never met and you don't understand what he says?" And he sent it. He translated everything over Google Translate. Went to Google Earth, made sure the guy actually had a dealership because it's Italy. Everything happens a little bit slower. It was supposed to go on a ship. The guy missed the ship. You know how does that happen? Missed the ship. Ended up putting it in a container with three other vehicles. He gets a note from customs in New Jersey that says 3 out of the 4 vehicles passed customs and one didn't, and he didn't know which one. So it was actually a motorcycle that someone swapped out an engine, and that's the one that got stuck in customs. So he was having all kinds of problems with that. And the only problems were emotionally because he didn't know. He ended up going to New Jersey, picking it up. Again, sight unseen, only pictures. Drove it from New Jersey to Narragansett, Rhode Island, no problems whatsoever. That little diesel engine just kind of cranking along at 55 miles an hour. And he liked it so much he bought another one. And so now he has 2. And his wife thinks he's nuts. And but he has 2 sons that are college age, so they kind of enjoy driving it too. But he really likes them. So, and the other thing that's actually right next to their old Defender, and I kind of like the short wheelbase Defender. Yeah. So it's George loves it. Too bad you can't hear George, but he's here as we're talking on the phone. George is one of the most articulate people I know, by the way. No, it isn't. But also next to this is a lift. For I think it's $35.95 or something like that. And up on the lift is a Ram pickup truck that the wax oil people wax oiled half of it and left half of it plain. So you can actually see what wax oil does to help preserve the metal parts from rusting away. And it's up on that. And apparently the guys, all the wax oil guys, know the other guys. And it's actually the wax oil distributor is Rovers North out of Vermont. So yeah, yes. So talk about a car that rusts. So they're the U.S. distributor for wax oil, and the local guy who I met is a sales rep, and I asked him if he was going to be at the show, and he said no. One of my partners is going to be at the show. He's suffering in, I believe, St. John's right now. So, yeah. So, good for him. So, yeah, it actually, I got a couple of the spray cans of wax oil and did my wife's Volkswagen just because I had it and it was there, and I actually put it up on one of those portable lifts. And those portable lifts, they're pretty cool. It's a 4-post lift, drive-on style lift. It doesn't have to be bolted to the floor. And our buddy John Lawler has one in his storage facility. And you can actually, there's 4 wheels that you can clamp to the bottom of the ramps. You put the ramps down, it lifts up the posts. So with 4 people, you can actually roll it around, move it, take the wheels back off, and I don't know that it has holes in the bottom of the post, so you could bolt it to the floor. But apparently, it's not really necessary. It sort of holds its own weight. Now, you'd hate to bump it with another car and have the whole thing come crashing over. But that lift, our friend John Lawler is a guy who actually delivers press cars, and he has 2 garage buildings. And that lift has been in the steel building, and now it's in the old fire truck service building. And yeah, so and I actually, that's why I brought my wife's Volkswagen to spray wax oil under it. And the lift was there. It was out in the open. I called them up and said, hey, can I use your lift? And nobody bothered me, and I just sort of stayed in the corner and just sprayed away. And interesting with the wax oil stuff, on the way there, I had a brand new, 10 by 20 foot tarp, because I'm like, I don't want to make a mess on this floor. Not even a spot. So stuff sprays on like spray paint. Very thin rubber coating, kind of a liquid rubber coating that seals. It looks like crinkle paint when you're done, and it's a pretty impressive product. So you can see what wax oil looks like. You can see what the lift looks like. You can see what somebody who's selling leather bags with an old Land Rover Defender, and then the Factory 5. They have a Factory 5 car that lifts itself. Oh, IMSA style with the 4 jacks in it? Yeah, wow. Factory 5 has a whole display here, and Dave Smith is an interesting character. Dave Smith, yeah. I don't know, he doesn't like you. Me? Yeah, just so you know. So, once upon a time, you took one of his cars up on the Ragtop Ramble, which requires a little bit of explanation. The Ragtop Ramble is a hard-working day that we put in as Motor Press members, where we drive from Brookline up to Maine to eat lobster on the ocean. It's a tough day at work. And George drove one of the Factory 5 cars, and the brakes overheated, but apparently George has big feet. Which is a story I heard, because the brakes overheated a little bit, and it's not that he doesn't like, he actually likes you. So, but and too bad you can't hear George. Again, very interesting guy. Too bad you can't hear him, but He's the 818, which is their mid-engine car that uses a Subaru engine. Does turn around, and apparently they sold like one of them in the United States, and they sell them like crazy all over the rest of the world. And so it's one of those things that it's a pretty cool concept. It's not the most attractive looking car in the world, in my opinion, but beauty's in the eye of the beholder and all that sort of stuff. But it's an interesting idea, and when he built that, when that design concept came, that was supposed to be one of those things. They wanted to build a car that in any part of the country they could find an engine to squish in it, and they also want to do that with the Cobra kit. So if the hot engine in pick a place, Indonesia is a 2.5 liter diesel, it could go in it. So that's the plan, and they, I believe Factory 5 owns a piece of SoftWorks. And SoftWorks is a CAD/CAM company, so they can kind of design the stuff to work. They just showed a new Factory 5 model with a V12 in it. Yeah, so I don't even know what that is, but it has a long hood, and they managed to do that. So that may be taking the place of their, sort of the supercar looking car. So, yeah, and it's one of those cars. You can buy the kit for about anywhere from around $20,000. And again, Junior D'Amato, our buddy Junior D'Amato, has one because he has one of everything, and because he works really hard and he can afford to buy it. So, and he didn't build it. He bought it all put together. I believe he's done some work to it because he does work to everything he owns. He bought a Cadillac CTS-V and then didn't like the supercharger, so he put more supercharger on it because it didn't quite make enough horsepower, and put boiler exhaust on it. Made a real hot rod out of it, and so he has a lot of fun with his cars, which is what you're supposed to do. So it is always one of those things that works out. When I see some of his cars, he was putting an engine in a old Chevelle, 70 Chevelle maybe, and he was showing me the fuel injection setup that's going to go on it, and it's just it's got a fuel cell in the back now. It's got a little bit of work done to the rear diffs, a little bit wider tires without really tubbing out the rear. So it's wildwood brakes on it. So it's got he knows his stuff. So there's no question about that. So all kinds of stuff here. Factory 5 display kind of caught me by surprise when I saw it. The Boston Cup people have some cars here, including $1 million Plymouth or something. That's some crazy. I don't know. But George said, "How can a Plymouth be worth $1 million?" That's kind of what I heard as I was walking by. Yeah. The trunk's full of cash. Maybe that's what brought the value up. But there are some cool displays here. There's SCCAs here with some of their cars, which is pretty cool to see. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on here at the show, with the exception of me being here and my equipment not working. So, and I have no idea why. So, if I wanted to go on a station in England, a music station in England where I can talk about Rovers and other things, I can connect to them with no problem. So I don't know what the problem is. So other than there's a problem and I can't do it, and the worst part is I was here and it worked earlier. So I don't know what happened at this end where it stopped working, but it stopped, and we'll just kind of try it this way for now and see maybe if we can do something maybe a little bit better. I don't know. Before George is here, he's got his water. I have my coffee from 6:15 this morning, which is always good. Yeah. George is just hanging out here. So,
hey, John.
If you hang out here long enough, you may be volunteered to work. Yes, sir, Dennis.
Hey, I just wanted to let everybody know that our engineer is heading to the transmitter now. I guess there's something going on in the transmitter, and there was something going on with the Comcast feed to us just as the show went on the air. So that's what part of the issue is now, and they're working on it to get everything up and running. But
additionally, Comcast has a problem.
Apparently,
it supplies the internet to the radio station.
Correct.
Yes. So no, that's only just supplying the internet to the radio station. The phones are still working. So that may be part of the problem. Apparently, you know what? We're going to have an shocked with a problem with Comcast.
Shocking.
Yes. And Dennis, my producer, who actually used to work for Comcast. Yeah. You and him have something in common, by the way. You're about the same height. Okay. Yeah. So, how tall are you? 6'5". How tall are you, Dennis? George is 6'3".
I'm 6'4". So about the same height.
6'4". 6'4". So about the same. So, and they're looking for, if you want to play basketball on Wednesday nights, they're looking for Quincy. If you want to come down to Quincy to play ball.
Salvation Army in Quincy, 7:30 to 9. I mean, yes. Sorry, 7 to 9:30.
Salvation Army in Quincy, 7 to 9:30. Cost you $10 to play.
$10.
Maybe $10 to play. How can you go wrong?
I'll be there this Wednesday.
He's actually writing it down. He's actually putting it in his phone. So look for the 6'4" guy.
Just ask for Dennis. I'll be there.
So just ask for 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Just ask for Dennis. He'll be all fine. So that explains some of the problem. Apparently, we have a Comcast issue, which is, and Leo, our engineer, is out trying to figure out why that's the case. So who knows? But why don't we take a quick break? Maybe when I come back, maybe I can. I don't know. Maybe I could figure out how to hook a microphone up to my phone. We'll try that. But in the meantime, why don't we take a quick break? And again, I want to thank the folks from Expressway Toyota, the Bach brothers, for sponsoring us here today. So, Bach Toyota. One of the great things about Bach Toyota, we just go and look around. Eat at the Bach Cafe while you're there. You can check out their little area. Also, go meet their dog, their Labradoodle.
Ooh, who's that?
Their Labradoodle maybe named Tacoma, might be Tundra. It's one or the other. It's one of the trucks. It's one of the trucks. Tacoma. Tacoma's the Labradoodle. Really nice dog. Apparently, the dog is more popular than the Supra. So more people come in looking for the dog than looking for the Supra, which is a little bit of a surprise, but that's the way it is. Why don't we take a break, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Well, my time went so quickly.
All right.
I went lickety splitly out to my old 55.
All right. Hey, welcome back to the Car Doctor program on AM 950 WROL, the Spirit of Boston, 100.3 FM, or online, WROLradio.com. Again, if you're just tuning in and you go, what is going on here? Things don't sound as good as they should. Well, apparently our connection to the station through Comcast, through the cable company, had a problem, so that has shut us down. So we're over the phone. With me is George Kennedy. Say hello, George. Good morning, everybody. Dennis, you need to help me a little bit. How's this? Does this sound a little bit better than it did before?
Sounds wonderful.
Right? Got to be improvement. All right. Sounds wonderful, according to Dennis. So George and I can just stand here now and talk to each other because I plugged. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm actually a little uncomfortable, but we're here at the Mass Auto Dealer Skills Competition. Again, we're here courtesy of our friends over at Expressway Toyota, the Bach brothers. Richard and Robert invited us well, we invited them, I guess. Either way, so and it's kind of interesting. I'm seeing seeing some of the students here that are gathering up for the skills competition. And George from Ford Motor Company, one of the field technical engineers, is here. I recognize a couple of teachers from the old days when I used to be involved in these contests. So it's good to see them. Everybody who looks at me says, "Aren't you about ready to retire by now?" So. Yeah. So we were talking about the show earlier. Is there anything that kind of caught you by surprise?
I was surprised to see the new C8 Corvette is here. I expected that to be sort of we wouldn't see it for another year at a local level, but because the Detroit Auto Show has moved from, it used to be like right around New Year, they moved to the summer, which kind of shakes things up in terms of like rollout for cars and stuff. So now automakers, regional, whatever, can pay a little bit more attention to more regional shows like this.
Yeah, and I think, this show historically, when they moved it to Martin Luther King weekend, everybody was kind of like, I don't know how well that's going to do when they shorten it up a little bit. But volume of people-wise, this show is actually doing better than it did previously. And the other part of it is that I think the auto manufacturers, the ones that didn't show up, might be surprised and think they should show up next year.
Well, you and I have a friend who always says, brush the teeth you want to keep. Yeah. Right? So, well, what cars do you want to sell? And you ask a dealer that, well, you have to sell all of them.
Yep.
Then bring all of your cars, right? Just because you're afraid somebody's going to steal your volume knob doesn't mean you shouldn't bring a car down to the floor. One thing I wish that they would do more of is hooking the cars up to power, because a lot of these cars are not, the keys aren't in it, or the power's off. I'd like to see more of these cars with the power on, hook up to power on some level, because really, you want to be test driving the tech, right? So you're probably more loyal to your cell phone brand than your car brand. So if you're an Android person or an Apple person, more so than test driving the car to see how it drives, you should be able to go and get in there and hook up your phone, test it out, see what it's like to go through all the touch screens. I always tell people, when you're test driving the car, test drive the tech.
Right? That makes a lot of sense, and today, unfortunately, the tech can be what actually makes or breaks a car. I mean, you see some of the complaints that, whether it's through Consumer Reports or any of the other companies that do surveys, and you look at why the car was lower rated than another car, and a lot of times it has to do with the difficulty of the tech.
Yeah, I mean, consumer surveys like J.D. Power and stuff, they're a little dubious these days, because back in the day it was really a matter of, is something mechanically reliable or not? And the surveys these days are really about user satisfaction. And a lot of that stems from the tech proficiency of the user, which I'm not trying to say it's not you, it's me, but it's how easy is it to work with these touchscreen systems. And I think the American Big Three have it down pretty good. The other automakers are getting better. This is an area where I think the American automakers have it pretty good, because they have the right blend of tech features and traditional buttons and knobs. For example, I'm driving the new Ford Explorer right now, which has this giant touchscreen that sort of rises like the monolith from 2001 out of the dash. And I was hating it. I'm like, somebody's going to grab it too hard and break it, or it just looks like it's going to break. But it hit me today as I'm driving in, and I've got Waze on it, and it breaks up the screen where the top half of the screen is your Apple CarPlay with Waze, and the lower half is your radio controls. And when you go to press something on the radio swipe through, it doesn't go away from the CarPlay. So in other cars right now, you have to share the screen, and when you go to press one menu, it gets rid of CarPlay, and you got to load that again. This allows you to multitask, and that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm driving the new Legacy, and the Subaru Legacy, the old last year's Subaru, same thing. The tech was an issue. And now they have a pretty big display screen in the middle, and it works the same way. It splits up the tech a little bit, so it makes it a little bit better, a little bit easier to use. I have given Waze a shot 5 times now, and I try it, I use it, I get frustrated with it. It destroys my battery in my phone when I use it, and it seems really slow to navigate sometimes.
Yeah, Waze is funny. I think Waze is almost too hyper optimizing your route. So, I would say driving in Boston, there's 7 ways to get everywhere, and
they all take 2 hours.
Sure, but I would rather be hitting surface roads and cutting around back streets and getting yelled at by some old lady going up the back neighborhood than sitting on 93 in a parking lot.
Yeah.
And if it thinks it can go a minute quicker, like say you're going to Vermont, right? on a 2.5-hour trip, if it thinks it can shave off a minute by taking you on this crazy road route, it'll do that, where in reality, it's like, I think Google Maps knows minimize the amount of turns as well as find the fastest route. The reason I use Waze, though, is it's cheaper than a radar detector and cheaper than a speeding ticket.
Well, that's a good point, because it does pop up with to let you know that there's a police officer up ahead, maybe a crash up ahead, things like that. I noted I was using Google Maps in the Subaru, and I got a notification. No, it was actually in the GMC Sierra pickup truck.
Okay.
The one with the carbon bed.
Oh yeah.
So I was going up to Concord, New Hampshire a week or so ago, and using Google Maps, and all of a sudden I got a message from Waze that the police officers up ahead that said information is supplied by Waze.
Google owns
Waze,
yeah, and I think that they've kept those things separate, and I don't know if that's a legality thing, because they let Waze be just like the crazy rebels.
Yeah.
But I think they kept it so that, Google was the route optimized one and Waze was the community-based one. And here's the thing, it goes both ways, too. Like, I'm getting alerts about cops and crashes and stuff, but I'm also contributing to it as well. So if I see, a police posted up or whatever, or if I see a crash, there was a car fire, like 2 weeks ago, coming down, 495, and everybody was safe, but, I hit that up right away and, made a note, and you can say exactly what the hazard is, and you can let others know behind you on the road what's coming.
The only thing it does distract you, because if you're putting in crash this that, and some people and I don't know how to use it enough, but some people put in a little bit more than just an icon. They were able to actually type in. There's a little keyboard type in area where you can. And I see some of the stuff. It's like car breakdown with 2 cars involved.
Yeah, Waze is a pretty clean user interface, and when you are driving, it's a real simple matter of there's a little crosshair button in the lower right-hand corner, and you get one of 4 things to pick from. They simplify the menu when you're connected to the car. When you see something that's that detailed, usually it's somebody in the passenger seat. I hope entering that information,
or someone with a Tesla.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I like about Waze is that you can change the icon of the car. So I changed mine to a Formula One car. Right?
I think I'm still at the baby Waze. So, yeah, I don't, again, it's one of those things that if it helps people, if it keeps people moving, we've been talking to you, sort of, or yelling at you some of the time, because before we did what we're doing now. Tell us about you.
Yeah, so I'm freelance automotive journalist, writing for the Boston Globe, U.S. News and World Report. Car Gurus, we do video reviews for Car Gurus, and I'm the co-founder of a company called Cartender, which does automotive marketing software.
And what does that mean? What is automotive software marketing, or automotive marketing software?
Sure. So these days the margins at auto dealerships is tightening up a lot. You're not making money on every car you sell. You're making money at service and stuff like that. So something like video production is a really expensive thing, especially for a $199 a month offer video, which has an expiration date on it. That's a lot of money to spend for something that's going to go away in 30 days. So, the folks at Cartender have the technology to, put together programmatic videos that can be edited in split second and turn around very quickly. So for a low budget, quick turnaround, you can get that video up, and as a dealer, you can be able to put your offer promotions out there. And, I think what makes us different is the fact that I actually know cars. Right, there's a lot of marketing companies out there where they could be hawking refrigerators if they wanted. It doesn't really matter. I think what makes us different is that we have an in-depth knowledge of the car industry.
Yeah, that does make a difference. So, for instance, if the folks over at Expressway Toyota wanted to talk about the new all-wheel drive Camry that's coming out, you guys could put together. You could work with them to come up with something.
Absolutely, yeah. At cartender.com, we have various products. We can put together brand awareness videos, so what makes this dealer great, or if they just want to do an offer or a deal offer or a service offer, we can put that together too. And the neat thing is, once you do that initial setup of picking out the clips you want and whatnot, every month when you enter new offer data, it automatically populates that in the computer system and pumps it out. And if you're the dealer across the street is hiring a traditional video production house to make that, that's taken 3 to 4 days. At its fastest, we're pumping it out in 5 minutes.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like you said, getting a regular video production house. Too often, it looks like a bad home movie when you're done.
Well, that's one of the first things that I learned. I worked for a company in Acton Wheels TV for a number of years, and one of the first things that I was taught was you can do it good, you can do it cheap, you can do it fast. You can do two of those three max, and you can't get all three.
Well, that's what Bob Lutz said about Chrysler. We can build them quick and good, or we can build them fast and cheap. We can't build them fast and good.
Yeah, well, whatever gets him his next $30,000 watch. Yeah. So, didn't you do a startup that was like electrified pickups using old Silverado chassis and stuff like that?
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting because I got an email from that company that they were offering to pick people up at the Detroit Auto Show. So I'm like, okay, good. Why not? So I told them where I was going to be, and I was waiting out in front of the Detroit airport, waiting for somebody to pick me up, and it never showed up. And I called them up, and they said it broke.
I'm shocked to hear that. Yeah, exactly. But it's funny too, though, because he was working with a company that was electrifying Silverados. He was also working with a company that was taking the old Fisker Karma chassis and dropping a Chevy driveline, a Corvette driveline into it.
That was the best thing that could have ever happened to that, because that Chevy Volt driveline in a Fisker was just stupid.
That is I don't want to call Fisker a knockoff Tesla because that's not fair, but like the Fisker thought that they had something pretty neat on their hands, but they had the Chevy Volt driveline, and then Tesla just showed up and said, "Here, hold my beer."
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that, and you kind of wonder why someone wasn't really paying attention. The Fisker didn't work with that, so Cadillac decided to make their own version of it.
Right. I think because I got a chance to interview Heinrich Fisker, and he is responsible for some of like the coolest designs from like BMW and Audi and others around the 90s. And he said his aha moment was when he was watching the Oscars and Leo showed up in a Prius. That was like the late 90s or early 2000s. And the whole thing was they benchmarked the Prius for a driveline, and that's where they came up with the Volt driveline. And Elon Musk and Tesla just went well far and beyond that because they understood that if they were going to change buyer behavior, it's not going to be, hey, it's an electric car, hey, that's neat, hey, it's big. This thing has to be stupid fast. Some say ludicrously fast, right? And I've driven one of those cars before, the P100D, we were at the test track at Consumer Reports. I wrote, like, retinal detachment ? In my notes.
Yeah, I've been in an 80, in all-wheel drive 80, and that was pretty fast. So I can only imagine, or 90 maybe that's what it was, a 90. And that was pretty fast, and I'm like, what would the 100 be like?
Right, and I would like to see them. I know there's a concept of it. Bring back the Roadster. Whenever I'm rich and famous, my garage will consist of two vehicles: a Jeep Gladiator pickup and like a P100D Tesla Roadster, the newer Tesla Roadster. Speaking of that, I
thought that was I believe my old boss gave Elon $50,000 deposit for that Roadster.
For the new Roadster? All right, well, when it does show up, I want to ride.
Yeah, me too.
As a test drive.
I said, why don't you pay for it all up front so you could get one of the first ones? And he said, I don't trust him that much.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing my friends keep asking me about, like stock prices and stuff like that. I'm like, it's hard to conceptualize that the success of the stock because they're just barely becoming profitable at the moment. And then, like, folks are, well, it's incredible they're blowing Toyota or Ford out of the water. So I was like, those companies are car companies. Tesla is a tech company.
Yeah.
And if Tesla was to build cars on the level of the scale that Ford or Chevy does, I'm sure that they would run into problems in the stock. Once they become a full producer, it changes everything. Each are traded as the companies that they really are.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't Fisker back with like a $40,000 sort of SUV-ish electric car?
They brought back the Karma, and now the company is called Karma, which was the model name back then. And I don't know what the driveline is. I think it's all electric.
Yeah, it's all electric, 4 electric motors, and they claim under $40,000.
Yeah, I mean it's neat to see. And what's funny is like even the original Tesla Roadster is now becoming a bit of like a cool collector vehicle, because I want to see the explosion of the electric market, and I don't really care about it for commuter cars. Yeah. That's where you're going to make your money if you're an automaker. But I want to see it develop for the performance market, right? I have no problem taking like a 64.5 Mustang and dropping an electric drivetrain in it. There are people that hate you right now. I know. I don't care what powers it. I want to go fast, right? And guess what? That P100D drivetrain I drop into it might be more reliable. Oh, that is true. I think Tesla or someone had a P100 towing a Hellcat on a trailer, racing a Hellcat, and they beat it. It was the SUV. It was the Model S SUV. Yeah, here's the thing. You get 100% of your torque at 0 RPM, and that's when it comes down to torque. It's how fast, how quickly, and how low what RPM level can you make it at? So when you talk about big Chevy trucks with 1,000 pounds of torque, something like that, it's not just like the number. It's what RPM can you make that at? How low, and that's just stump pulling power. So you got to rev it up. That's no good for power. If you can make it everything from the second that you touch that accelerator, there's your acceleration. That's why Teslas are so fast. Yeah, I mean, they're interesting cars. The person I know that had the Tesla Model S actually traded it for 2 Model 3s. So, and I swear it was just because he wanted the tax deduction, but it wouldn't shock me. When I say the Mustang thing, by the way, he also has 3 different versions of the Shelby Mustang H's. So he has the original, like the 66. Yeah. He has this, like the 66, whenever it came out again in the 90s, and then 2015. Once again, there's a niche. Yeah. But what I'm interested too is the fact that these electric drivetrains allow you to have this almost like skateboard-like platform. And you can throw any body shell you want on top of it, like little Matchbox cars. Yeah, right. And maybe Dennis remembers, but we had an electric startup company on the show years ago, sort of a Rivian type company, and basically they were building a platform. And they said we can put an SUV on it, we can put a pickup on it, we can put a box van on top of it, and I don't know whatever happened. It was a startup, and it sounded like it was going all in the right direction, and then I haven't heard a word since. There was a company out of Israel in like the early 2010s that was doing something like that. They were the ones that were debuting the battery replacement technology. Oh, okay. Actually, it's a funny wrinkle. So Carlos Ghosn, the CEO of Nissan, who had to flee Japan because Nissan Renault is in a relationship, and he was caught being funny with the books, and they were going to arrest him. He somehow fled Japan like in a piece of luggage in a private jet, and he was trying to seek refuge in Jordan. Problem is, he had visited Israel in like 2013 to look at this electric startup to talk about the battery replacement tech, and these two countries, while no longer at war, haven't been for decades, have we're just not going to talk to each other policy, and I don't see one of those countries bending the policy for one crooked CEO. So now, like, his asylum is in question because of this visit, like 10 years ago. Yeah, that is a made-for-TV movie. That is a wild story since like Huey Capella. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean that is going to be a story that is going to be the idea that he had a band playing and he was smuggled out in band equipment, and really the band was like military guys or something. There is a whole story that goes with that. He's the best story since John DeLorean, as far as CEOs go. Yeah. Although who was the guy? Malcolm Bricklin. Malcolm Bricklin. I was watching. You know what Pluto TV is? It's like an app. It's an app, dude. Yeah. So they have a lot of old. They have a documentary channel on Pluto TV, and so they have older documentaries. Okay. So it was like TV Land. Yeah, like TV. But it was Malcolm Bricklin trying to develop an electric car from China. What could go wrong? And everything apparently. And he went to Japan. He went to China,
met with the company, got them to sign some sort of letter of intent. Now, the letter of intent was pretty vague, and then he came back and he actually tried to sell a bunch of dealers on the idea of this electric car. And one of them I noticed when I was watching the documentary was Bobby Tasker III, the guy, the race car, the race car driver.
Overjet.
Yeah, the race car driver. So, and I'm watching the documentary, and you could just tell it's going wrong. It's just not going well. And it was just one of those things. It's like, yeah, I wonder if this is going to work. And the idea that he sort of, I don't want to say he like strong-armed the Chinese guy into it, but he said, I need you to sign this. I need you to sign this. And what he signed really didn't say that they were going to build a car. But it was enough so he could go back to his investors and say, this is what we got going on. And, I remember Malcolm Bricklin. I actually had him on a radio show 20 years ago when he was, I think the Yugo was about done. He had this big estate out in the middle of nowhere with a Yugo made into the roof of it that looked like it was crashing into the roof. And he was coming out with an electric bicycle.
Okay.
And this was when Baywatch was popular. And I just kind of said, oh, you ought to put your electric bike on Baywatch, which he did. And he invited me out to his ranch, which I never did because, and
you'd still be out there.
I'd be buried out back somewhere. But then at the end of it all, it shows him in his condo somewhere, and he lives in a more modest house, or at the time during the documentary, seemed to live in a more modest house than me. So his vast fortune seemed to have, he was vacuuming his own carpet. So, yeah.
Well, look, a lot of the companies that we hold dear were also started that way. I mean, Carroll Shelby had one Cobra that it would paint a different color every time he went to a different client. Yeah. Right? There was a whole sort of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul to start that. Yeah. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they were all doing the same kind of thing early on. And really, a lot of companies just started that way. And whether or not these people are looked at after later as visionaries, and it is a whole lot of luck that goes into that last precipice you have to climb to start becoming successful. Yeah. Or be so intensely successful in your previous venture that you can burn money like Elon Musk.
Yeah, I remember it had to be years and years ago, I think, when Tesla was actually doing the Lotus Roadster, and I said, here's my prediction. Fisker and Tesla will be like, we'll look back in the history books, they'll be like Tucker. They had a really good time, and they didn't really build much. I was half right.
Yeah. The first Roadster is cool, though, and, too, there's somebody up around us who I think owns one. The guy's last name is Benoit. He is the owner of Electrified Garage. Rich Benoit. So if you look on YouTube, Rich Rebuilds, he's the guy who's famous for taking two salvaged Teslas and kit bashing them, essentially. Yeah. And that's not only that's biggest that he was one of the first to do it, but it broke the door open for the aftermarket for Tesla. So Tesla basically said, you might be buying this car, but you're not buying the tech. Yeah. And that goes against the last 50 years to 100 years of, well, I'm going to buy this car, I want to be able to work on it. Right? And now you have Elon Musk saying, well, no, we own the IP, you can't get into the code and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, luckily, we are a right-to-repair state.
Yep. So it actually works, Yeah, I went to his website, Rich, and asked if he could be on my show sometime. I got that sounds really interesting. I never heard back, but I know he's a busy guy. Hey, I believe Bobby Brooks is in the studio. Bob, are you there, sir?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Oh, I can hear you just fine, too.
We have a couple minutes left to. Yeah, well, we had the magic of technology let me down. So that was a little bit disappointing, but we are here. We're here at the Boston International Auto Show at the Student Skills Competition. Buddy George Kennedy was kind enough to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, we're doing a little bit of Facebook Live now, too. We're going to do that at the same time. But he was kind enough to get up early in the morning to join me here. And I want to thank the Bach brothers at Expressway Toyota for sponsoring us here today, too.
Yeah, and I'll go in Tacoma, too. Don't forget about Tacoma the dog.
Oh yeah, I can't forget about Tacoma the dog. Yeah,
No.
yeah, maybe, and I think maybe it's only because I was friends with Tacoma is maybe that's the reason why we're here. But this is a great event. There's a bunch of teams here right now. They're all getting ready. The head of the Mass Auto Dealers Association is actually addressing them now and telling them how important this is. This is a big event for kids. I call this the Super Bowl of automotive events, because it really is. It gives them a chance to really shine and do a good job. And in this day of where technology, and to be able to repair technology and to be able to go to a trade school, and I was talking to a guy the other day who came out of trade school making $100,000 a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty good money.
Yeah,
so,
not bad at all.
Yeah.
And John, I got to tell you,
no, not at all.
Yeah, very rarely do I tell people I know their pain, but I do know your pain when stuff like this happens. We do so many live remotes with the, with the Irish community that we've had problems as well. And but I was driving in, and kudos to you and Dennis for pulling it off. It's like if you didn't say anything, I would not have known there was an issue. So great job by you and Dennis. Super.
Well, I gotta. Well, and I can't. It's tough to talk for an hour without callers sometimes. And I want to again thank George Kennedy for coming in. George, people can find you on Twitter and all that stuff.
At GKens101 on Instagram for the marketing stuff. Cartender.com. George at Cartender.com.
Perfect, thank you. Hey, Bob, I'm going to let you take over from here. The very best in Irish music coming up on the Irish Hit Parade. George's father's a big fan, by the way, and on the Irish Hit Parade. So the very best in Irish music coming up next with Bob Brooks, and then a little bit later Matt O'Donnell, and a little bit later the Bailey Cayley with... so everything Irish coming up from now on. Until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, and be good to your car. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.